They did. They went out of their way to not talk about Caitlin Clark with all of this. Like, they had a commercial they released where they mentioned Juju Watkins, they mentioned Sabrina, they mentioned all the athletes that were on the t-shirt other than Caitlin Clark and Paige.
Nike really crossed the line with this one. They disrespected Caitlin Clark so badly that even her haters had to take a step back.
I was born that night. I was. I woke up today. I saw this. I checked my birth certificate just to make sure. Yeah, I was born at night. Not last night, Nike. Not last night.
First, Nike dropped an ad hyping up Aya Wilson like she's the second coming of MJ. Then, at the very last second, boom. They tossed Caitlin Clark in for a whole 10 seconds like she was an afterthought at a family reunion. Nike, be serious. Y'all fumbled harder than Shaq at the free throw line. Let's break this mess down.
Voice over it.
Silent Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark.
She's not.
I know you want a tea.
Okay. She's not even talking. Like, she's silent, and two, it's a voiceover.
Silent Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tea.
Okay. So someone edited that in post-production. They put a voiceover. They made her send him through voicemail with the Caitlin Clark parts to appease us.
Fans immediately took to social media like, where's Caitlin Clark? And instead of admitting they fumbled worse than Nick Young celebrating a 3-2 early, Nike thought, let's just slap a quick clip of Caitlin in there. No one will notice that, oh, we noticed. We noticed like a dad at a barbecue catching someone reaching for his grill. They threw in 10 seconds of Caitlin like she's some rookie fresh off the bench who should just be grateful to be here. 10 seconds. For the player who just made the biggest impact on the WNBA since the league was created. Nike, are y'all even paying?
First want to tell you, dog, they went in the lab and they redid this commercial. They definitely redid it, did a voiceover on it. They had to fix it.
Caitlin Clark isn't just some random player who had a good college run. She's the player. She's the reason WNBA viewership is breaking records. She's why Indiana Fever games are selling out like a Beyoncé concert. She's why NBA dudes who never watched a single quarter of women's basketball before are suddenly acting like experts on WNBA spacing and physicality. And yet, Nike thought it made sense to give her the same amount of screen time they'd give a backup dancer in a Beyoncé music video. Make it make sense.
Girl right here is a box office attraction. And because of her box office attraction, it's generating more eyeballs to the WNBA product, therefore more revenue for the WNBA product. Don't you think y'all are going to benefit from that too?
Let's be fair, Nike messed up big time. They ignored the fact that Caitlin Clark isn't just another player. She's a cultural phenomenon. She's got casual sports fans. People who couldn't tell you the difference between a pick and roll and a cinnamon roll, tuning into WNBA games for the first time ever. Now let's talk real numbers. Caitlin Clark's college games at Iowa were pulling in millions of viewers, regularly outpacing NBA games. When she declared for the draft, Indiana Fever ticket prices shot up 400%. The WNBA had to completely rework its TV schedule just to make sure her games were front and center. And yet Nike, one of the biggest sports brands in the world, thought, yeah, let's just slide her in.
We do all this marketing, right, for all the Nike athletes, but the one Nike athlete who just happens to be the most marketable, who just happens to be the most noticeable, who just happens to be the most recognizable, who just happens to be the face of women's sports, period. Not the face of the WNBA, she's that too. The face of women's sports, period. When we have her on our roster, even if it's not her commercial per se, let's at least throw her some credit and toss her a bone, shall we? Nike chooses not to even.
Nike is out here trying to sell WNBA jerseys, right? And who had the best-selling jersey in the entire league? Say it with me. Caitlin Clark, Not Aya Wilson, not anybody else. Caitlin Clark star. She didn't just join the WNBA. She changed the game. She shattered records and made more people care about women's basketball than ever before. She's basically the basketball version of Wi-Fi. Everyone needs her, even if they won't admit it. So, Nike, let me ask a real simple question. Why wouldn't you build an entire ad campaign around your biggest moneymaker? Who's running your marketing department, a magic 8-ball? Or worse, a group of dads who still think LeBron and Jordan are the only two basketball players to ever exist? Seriously, the math ain't matting. Caitlin Clark's jersey sales are skyrocketing. Her influence is undeniable, and yet Nike is out here acting like they somehow misplaced the most valuable player in their marketing playbook. They should be plastering her face on billboards, rolling out signature shoes, and giving her own like a Clark campaign. But instead, they centered their
How in the world is Nike not going full on Caitlin Clark phenomenon? You've got the most popular women's athlete in the world. Do they still not have a Caitlin Clark shoe out? My mind is blown.
No disrespect to Aya Wilson, but let's be real. She doesn't have the same impact as Caitlin Clark. Aya is a great player, no doubt, but when it comes to ratings, influence, and filling seats, Caitlin is the one changing the WNBA. Meanwhile, Nike is running its business like a group project. One person does all the work while the rest just show up for the final presentation. And what's Caitlin doing while Nike...
Clark's Nike deal might be the worst endorsement deal in the history of professional sports. You guys remember this billboard that was put up in Iowa? Well, that's one of the last times that Nike has done anything for...
Aya Wilson is a phenomenal player. No one's denying that. She's a back-to-back champion, an MVP, and one of the most dominant forces in women's basketball. But the constant need for validation? Michael Jordan didn't go around giving interviews demanding respect. He went out and torched everyone in sight until they had no choice but to acknowledge his greatness. That's the difference between her and Caitlin Clark right now. Caitlin isn't out here crying to the media about what she deserves or giving interviews about how people need to recognize her impact. She's out there working. Every clip that leaks from her workouts shows her refining her shot, improving her handles, and pushing herself to new limits. This is what generational talent looks like. No distractions, no noise, just work.
League, 5 games into it, we sold more merch than us all of last. No matter how we feel about the attention she's getting, our shit is being sold. People are watching us now. The fact that she's making the league more popular for the masses, it's benefiting.
And yet, somehow, Nike continues to ignore Caitlin Clark. You've got a player who's literally redefining the women's game, breaking records, and drawing millions of viewers every time she steps on the court. But she's not your marketing priority? Meanwhile, they're throwing big money at other athletes who don't even have half her impact. What are we doing here? Caitlin Clark fans aren't going to stand for this. They've already shown their power when the NCAA refused to give her proper coverage, and they'll do it again if Nike doesn't get it together. If Nike wants to become the next blockbuster, watching greatness slip away while making all the wrong choices, then sure, keep fumbling. But the reality is Caitlin Clark is the future of women's basketball, and ignoring her is a colossal mistake. We've seen this before. Companies bet against the obvious choice, and they end up regretting it. Remember when Adidas fumbled Steph Curry and let him go to Under Armour? That turned out well for them, didn't it? If Nike keeps playing this game, another brand will step in and build an empire around Caitlin Clark, leaving Nike in the dust.
This quote, it wasn't a championship locker room. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Holy smokes. Las Vegas Aces star A'ja Wilson missed out on a third consecutive WNBA title as they fell to the New York Liberty in the semifinals. In an interview with Callie Finn of the Las Vegas Review-Journal on Monday, Wilson acknowledged that her team, quote, fell short of their goal.
This is bigger than just a shoe deal. Caitlin Clark represents a shift in women's basketball, one where the sport is finally getting the mainstream attention and respect it deserves. Fans are invested, the culture is changing, and Nike is sitting on the sidelines, pretending like it's not happening. They need to wake up before it's too late. Caitlin Clark is the moment. She's not asking for respect. She's demanding it with her play. Meanwhile, Aya Wilson is out here running a PR campaign instead of a training camp. The difference is clear. One is focused on greatness. The other is focused on being recognized. Nike thought they could pull a fast one, but Caitlin Clark's fans are too smart for that. The internet immediately called them out, and the backlash has been nothing short of hilarious.
For creating movements over A'ja Wilson being disrespected, and they was mad as all kinds of new hell. because Caitlin Clark got her a signature shoe, which, by the way, Nike has set on themselves. I mean, if it wasn't for a few billboards and finally she showed up in a flash on a Super Bowl ad, would you have even known? I mean,